Relax and listen to the voice. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Bloody Bits, Volume 6. Bloody Bits is our series dedicated to shining a light on unknown, or as we like to say, underknown authors. These episodes are really important to us because we are an unknown channel, and outside of this channel, we are unknown artists. We strongly believe in lifting each other up, cross-promoting, and sharing each other's work. This gives us a chance to do that, and it gives you, our listeners, a chance to find some new work from artists that you might be unaware exist. We hope you enjoy this. And with that, here we go. Mirror, Mirror by Ralph Aldrich. Peter Larkin stumbles out of the Bluebird Bar and Grill. He's got a belly full of beans and hot dogs, and his head is buzzing from one too many beers. The sidewalk tilts as he tries to light a cigarette. Peter frowns as he braces himself and tries again. A small smile of satisfaction spreads across his lips as his second attempt is successful. Suddenly, a harsh October wind lashes across his face as the quarter moon ducks behind a thick blank of clouds. Turning up his collar, he chuckles dryly. Better get home before the rain catches me. And then pointing his finger high into the air, he declares, "But first, to the package store for my favorite nighttime sleepy medicine, Smirnoff's 80 proof. Billy, the store clerk, is displaying the patience of a saint as he watches Larkin fumble through his money for the pint. Instead of a neat stack of bills, Larkin has wadded his cash into a crumpled ball and now peels each note off as if he's stripping layers from an onion. When Larkin licks his thumb to keep counting, Billy stops him. "Hang on a minute, Pete. It looks like you might already have enough." He smooths the bills across the counter, pressing out the wrinkles. "The pint costs $8.99, and you've got $8 here. But all I need is one more dollar." Larkin scowls. I thought you said it was $8.99. Billy sighs. It is. You give me one more dollar, and I'll give you back a penny. Simple math, see? Larkin raises his eyebrows as he digs his hand into his pocket. "I think I might have the change." "Oh, no you don't," Billy snaps, snatching up another dollar and dropping a penny from the take a penny, leave a penny tray into Larkin's hand. "There, now we're even." Larkin's eyes go wide, blinking rapidly. "We're even? We're even?" he asks in a dreamy voice. "Yup," Billy says. "Let me put that in a bag for you." But Larkin opens his jacket with all the flair of a magician. Pointing to the inside pocket, he declares, "I'll just tuck it in here. Ta-da! Good night, Billy." Billy calls back, "Good night to you too, Mr. Larkin." He then adds under his breath, "And good riddance." As the doors to the liquor store slowly close, Billy hears the distant rumble of thunder. He tightens his lips. "Kinda late in the year for a thunderstorm. Oh well." The storm becomes more fierce. Larkin grips his coat by its lapels with both hands, desperate to keep it closed against the tearing wind. The thought of losing the bottle would be unbearable. His bleary eyes snap wide open as a jagged bolt of lightning strikes so near that the air reeks of ozone. A violent thunderclap follows, driving him stumbling backwards on his heels until he slips off the edge of the sidewalk. Larkin flails his arms in a desperate attempt to keep his balance, but he fails, pitching head over heels down the embankment into the field below. He lies there, sprawled out at the bottom, dazed and disoriented. Something warm trickles down his face. When he touches it, his fingers come away, stained and sticky with blood. I must have struck my head on a rock or something when I fell down that damned hill, he mutters. Pressing his handkerchief to his brow, Larkin rises to his knees. He scans the field, but the 3-foot tangle of grass and weeds nearly blocks his view. He sees what looks like a caravan of wagons in the distance. He reaches for his bottle, opens it, and takes a long swig. I don't remember hearing about the carnival coming to town. He decides to go and see. High-stepping through the weeds and tall grass, he reaches a raised platform. A jagged streak of lightning splits the sky, and the crash of thunder nearly knocks Larkin off of his feet. The heavens open, drenching him in seconds. Blinking through a blur of vodka and rain, he squints up and sees a sign that reads, Hall of Mirrors. Thank God, he mutters. He scrambles up the slick steps, slipping and sliding, and yanks at the rickety door. A fierce gust tears it from his grip and loosens its hinges. Cursing, he ducks inside and slides down the wall, chest heaving. Son of a bitch! A flash of lightning ricochets off the mirrors, illuminating the room. Seeing his reflection in the mirror opposite him, he laughs at how stupid he looks. He's soaked to the skin with his hair hanging down and his face covered in blood. Raising the bottle high, he salutes himself and takes a swig. Another flash of lightning occurs and reveals a shadowy figure alongside Larkin. He gasps. Another bolt of lightning shows a young boy, except this time Larkin knows who he is. He's looking at himself, wearing the same clothes he was wearing the day of the accident. As the light fades, Larkin's eyes glaze over, and he drifts into the memory of that day. Larkin was 10, on vacation with his family. While his mother went inside to check them into the motel, she told him to keep an eye on his 4-year-old brother, Timmy. As they walked past the pool, something glinted beneath a hedge, catching Larkin's attention. Curiosity got the better of him. He let go of Timmy's hand for just a moment so he could bend down to investigate. What he saw was a woman's watch, an expensive one. Grinning widely, he turned to show Timmy his find, but Timmy was gone. Larkin swears to this day that it was less than 30 seconds. He remembers seeing a fully dressed man climb out of the pool, hauling Timmy's limp body onto the deck. The paramedics arrived quickly and did everything they could, but it was too late. Timmy had struck his head and drowned. Larkin's mother had never forgiven him, and worse still, her heart turned cold towards him. He tried not to let it get to him, because it was an accident, but to this day he lives with the guilt. The image in the mirror fades with the rolling thunder as Larkin curses his mother. It was an accident. He takes another drink. The wind blows the door shut with a bang, and Larkin nearly jumps out of his skin. Son of a bitch! Plunged into total darkness, he begins to feel for the door handle, but there isn't one. Swearing, Larkin searches for the lighter in his pocket, finds it, and flicks it on. In absolute terror, Larkin gasps as he is slammed back against the wall. Dozens of reflections of his brother's face stare directly at him. Larkin screams and drops the lighter. "Damn it!" He falls to his knees, groping in the darkness. When his fingers close around the lighter, he hesitates, afraid of what the light might reveal if struck again. His heart hammers in his chest as he decides to once again flick the wheel. The flame flares to life, and he whimpers at the sight before him. His mother's face glows in the trembling light, twisted with fury, her eyes blazing with hatred. "You killed him," she spits. "The love of my life, you killed him. Tonight you'll roast in hell." Larkin clutches his hands together, his voice breaking. No, it was an accident. Why can't you see that? I was only a child. I didn't know what I was doing. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." The image shifts one final time to Timmy lying motionless on the deck, his corn silk hair plastered to his forehead, the whites of his eyes exposed. His face is drained of life, a pale bluish hue. Larkin collapses to the floor, crushed by grief. "Timmy, I never meant for you to die. I loved you," he cries. His voice breaks as he sinks into uncontrollable sobs, whispering his regret over and over. Larkin's heart nearly stops as he feels a cool breath press against his ear and speak the words, "Tonight you die." Larkin shrieks as he scrambles to his feet to escape the disembodied voice. He slams into a mirror and drops his bottle. The storm continues to rage outside. One explosion of thunder rocks the wagon and blows the exit door wide open. Larkin tries to escape, but runs into another mirror. He begins pounding on the glass with both fists, growling as he tries to break it. That's when his foot knocks into his vodka bottle. Grabbing the bottle, he throws it with all his might, smashing the mirror and exposing the true exit. Laughing hysterically through panic and feelings of joy at his success, with tears streaking down his face, Larkin bursts through the doorway. He misses the steps and falls, crashing face first into the mud. In an instant, he's up again, stumbling and sprinting blindly across the field, driven only by the desperate need to escape. As Mrs. Hollander rounds the corner, a figure suddenly erupts from the field into her headlights, too close and too quickly for her to stop. The two officers watch as the paramedics slide Larkin's body into a black bag. The first officer glances towards the overgrown field that Mrs. Hollander said Peter came running from. "Hey, Ben," he says, squinting into the darkness. "Isn't this where they used to hold the county state fair? Must have been, 20 years ago? What do you think Larkin was doing out there?" Ben's eyes linger on Larkin's pale, frozen face as the zipper closes. No idea," he says quietly. "And it looks like we'll never find out." The two men climb into their cruiser and pull away, following the ambulance's taillights until they vanish in the distance, leaving the silent, empty field behind them. Falling by Christie McMahon. She was falling in her dream, tumbling down and down and down. It was like weightlessness, and it went on and on. The ground, hard and implacable, was in the distance somewhere. She would hit it, she knew, but for now, she just kept falling and falling and falling. Irma woke up with a start, jolting upright in bed. It was pitch black, blacker than pitch black, blacker than the devil. Where's the nightlight? She thought, a flush of irritation creeping up her chest. Harry's forgotten again. That's what he's gone and done. Irma felt for the edge of the bed, shifting her not inconsiderable weight as she prepared to stand up. A pain shot from her hip, up her back, and she groaned. I tell him time and time again, but he still can't be bothered to remember my nightlight, even though he knows how much I need it. If I fall one of these nights and break a leg, he wouldn't give a flying fig. As her toes skimmed the floor, Irma pushed off the bed, the springs of the mattress groaning in protest, but she wasn't bothered whether it woke up Harry. Serves him right, she thought. That good-for-nothing never does nothing for me, so why should I care if I wake him up now? Irma stood, then lumbered in the direction of the adjoining bathroom, her hands grasping and groping to find her way. The path would have been plainly visible if Harry would have done what he was supposed to do and turned it on before he got into bed, she grizzled to herself. Crunch! Her shin met the corner of her grandmother's oak hope chest, and the pain was immense, shouting up her shin and setting the flame in her hip on fire again. Shit! Damn! Fuck! She yelled. Irma, that you, woman? Harry mumbled from the bed. Of course it's me, you nincompoop. Who else would it be at this time of night? Irma barked. You went and forgot my light again, didn't you? You can't get nothing right. Ah! Harry started to reply, but Irma cut him off. Just shut up. I don't want to hear nothing you have to say. You just want me to fall and hurt myself, you inconsiderate bastard. Irma was irate, and her head pounded. She ignored Harry as he rolled over, mumbling something she couldn't understand. I just need to make it to the bathroom and turn on the light, she reasoned. By the time I get back to bed, the pain will be gone, and I can get some sleep. After a few more moments of complete darkness, Irma lurched into the bathroom, staggered to the toilet, and almost collapsed onto the porcelain. As she did her business, she reached down where she knew her nightlight would be and flipped the switch that turned it on. A soft glow illuminated her flaccid white legs, and she looked away. When she finished, she pulled up her drawers and stood, her hands braced to either side, the effort making her breathe a little heavier. The light was on. She was safe, she thought. Taking a deep breath, she started on her way. She was falling in her dream, tumbling down and down and down. It was like weightlessness, but now with an edge of terror. The ground, hard and implacable, was rising up to meet her, and she put her arms out to shield her face. Irma woke up, sweat pouring off of her brow and seeping out of the creases of her neck. She opened her eyes, expecting the soft illumination of her nightlight, but again, she saw nothing but black. Momentarily stunned by the dream and by the darkness, she lay still. Then her senses came back to her. Damn that man to hell, she swore to herself. He must have gone in there and turned it off just to spite me. What a good-for-nothing S.O.B. I have a mind to... But her mind stopped short. He's not worth the effort, she finished grimly. Instead, she fumbled for the edge of the bed again and sat up too quickly. A pain stabbed from her spine into her neck, and she almost fell back onto the bed. What the... Finally, catching her breath, she managed to stand up, creep over to the bathroom again, and flip the switch to her nightlight. God blast that man, she thought as she got back into bed. He really is worthless. But Harry slept on, oblivious to her anger, oblivious to her pain, oblivious to everything. She was falling in her dream, tumbling down and down and down. The terror was bigger now, grabbing her throat and squeezing. Her arms cartwheeled around her, and the ground loomed up at her. In 3 seconds, she would hit, smashing into pulp. 2 seconds. 1. Irma woke. The pain in her neck was unbearable. A dagger driven into the base of her skull and down her spine. She was soaked in sweat, a sour smell, the stench of fear spilling out of her pores. And what was more, her throat was dry, bone dry, like the desert, but drier. This time, as her eyes came open, they barely registered the suffocating darkness. She almost didn't care. The pain was that bad, and the thirst was that intense. I need water, her mind roared. Irma dragged her immense body out of the bed, this time turning left toward the bedroom door rather than right toward the bathroom. She could just make out Harry's deep, even breaths, but she couldn't see a thing in the darkness. The night enveloped her, surrounded her, embraced her, and she couldn't feel anything but the pain in her neck, pounding up and down her spine, penetrating into her brain. All she could think of was getting to the kitchen for a cool glass of water to soothe her parched throat. Bracing her hands on the door jamb, she shifted her left foot forward into the hallway and then brought her right foot forward as well, feeling for the top of the staircase. Still holding on to the door frame, she reached out with her other hand for the top of the banister. As her fingers found purchase, she hoisted herself forward, feeling the yawning abyss of the staircase in front of her. Her fingers scrabbled up and down the wall to her right, searching frantically for the switch. Light! Where's the goddamn light? She thought frantically. I need water! I need light! Her fingers felt the edge of the switch plate, and she inched them toward the center, the switch almost within her grasp. And that was when it happened. 2 hands in the center of her back, sinking into the soft flesh, and then a massive, almighty shove. For a millisecond, her fingers felt the switch, felt it flip, then felt nothing but air. There was a flash of light on the landing which illuminated Harry's grinning face, and then she was falling again, tumbling down and down and down. Her arms cartwheeled around her, frantically trying to slow her descent, but there was no chance. She felt her arm bend the wrong way, her elbow snapping, a sickening crunch. The pain bit into her, dwarfing all other pain. The next casualty was her tibia. Her fat ankle wedged itself between the uprights of the railing, and as the full weight of her body carried her down the stairs, the bone gave way, puncturing the pale skin of her unshaven calf, the splintered shards glistening wetly with blood. Irma tried to think, but found she could not. The pain had swallowed her whole. Instead, words raced through her brain in a dizzying spiral. Dream, light, neck, water, dream, light, neck, water. Harry! She continued to fall. Her skull hit one stair, then cracked loudly on the next, her neck twisting tautly, the pain excruciating. A brief glimpse of the stone floor at the bottom of the stairs. It loomed up at her, and the terror was no longer a dream. It was real. She would hit in 3 seconds. 2 seconds. 1. And darkness descended on Irma for the final time. Fish Eyes by Howard Seeley. Dallas, a hot summer day, and the line in the 7-Eleven store never ceased. Slurpees and Big Gulps were the favorite choices of the day, followed by Marlboro cigarettes and money order sales. Yes, it was another typical Saturday afternoon on Denton Drive in Dallas, and I had the pleasure of working the registers by myself that day, but the typicality was about to be interrupted. I was in the zone, ringing up customers and serving their personal needs. I was able to send them on their way, satisfied, with smiles on their faces. The customers came in, and the line never ceased. It was good, though, for it made the day pass by quickly. The regular customers would come in, and we would greet each other cordially, and the ones that I didn't recognize would be greeted as well. Then, it happened. A customer walked in, whom I had never seen before, and caught my eye. He was tall, thin, had a dark complexion, and sported a full head of black hair. Nothing about him stood out, but still, I felt there was something odd about this person, and the hairs raised on the back of my neck. If there was a warning sign about the evil that may lie within this person, it had to be his eyes. Lifeless, like a fish who was stranded on the beach. As I continued to take care of my customers, I watched him as he slithered through the aisles and navigated throughout the entire store. Aisle after aisle he paced through, often more than once. It was as if he was either casing the store, waiting for the customers to clear out, or both. After what seemed like an eternity, he came through the checkout line. A young lady was just in front of him, and as I was ringing her up, I saw her jump and turn towards the man. It wasn't until later that I found out he had grabbed her ass. I rung the man up and was glad to see him walk out the door. I felt relieved, but still, that feeling of dread failed to pass. As the afternoon dragged on, I would occasionally look out the front window, observing who was pumping gas or just passing by. Suddenly, a familiar face walked past the window, and my heart skipped a beat. The man with the fish eyes was lingering around in front of the store. It was late in the afternoon, and business was slowing down, and I knew it wouldn't be long before the store would be empty. My mind began to race. Is he waiting for the store to empty so he can rob me? This was 1987, and there were no security cameras in the store, no panic buttons, and I had no one working with me. I was alone and unarmed. The training I received from 7-Eleven said that if we were robbed, we shouldn't resist. Just give them whatever they want, and hopefully all will be well. Still, I couldn't forget those fish eyes. Calling 911 was out of the question. There was no emergency except for the dark scenarios that were running through my head. My customer count kept dwindling, and I was more than certain that he was waiting for the right time. Not knowing what else I could do, I called the police station. The desk sergeant answered the phone, and I told him about my situation. He then asked, "Do you want us to do a welfare check?" I wasn't sure exactly what that was, but if it brought the police to my store, I was all for it. I hung up the phone and waited for them to arrive. Unlike earlier in the afternoon, time began to drag. Every so often, I could see that man hiding around the corner, standing by the phone booths. Only a couple of customers were left in the store, and there was still no sign of the police. I began praying for more customers to show up, giving me more time for the police to appear. Then, a squad car pulled up, and 2 policemen stepped out of the vehicle. Though they were partially out of my view, I heard a commotion between them, and the next thing I saw was the police handcuffing the man. Shortly after, another squad car pulled in, and the commotion continued. After a few minutes there, they put the man in the back of the first squad car. As they were sitting him down, I could see the look of anguish on his face and tears rolling out of his eyes. When the car pulled away, the sergeant from the second car came into the store and told me what had happened. "The man you reported to us was wanted for murder. Last month, there was a robbery in another convenience store, and they found the body of the store clerk lying in the walk-in cooler. I'm not sure what would have happened here, but in my opinion, you were lucky today." He thanked me for my participation and left. After that, things returned to normal. As my shift was about to be wrapped up, the young lady who was accosted returned to the store and thanked me. For some reason, she thought the police had arrested that man for groping her. I didn't have the heart to say what really went on, and she really was worth the police's time. So I said, "You're welcome, and I'm glad that you're okay." I often look back at that time in my life and wonder how or why that man caught my eye, and why my hackles were raised when I saw him. Scientists would probably say that it was a primordial instinct that raised my internal alarm. Religious folks would say that I had a guardian angel, or the Holy Spirit was protecting me. As for what I believe in, I think it was just fate. His days of freedom had come to an end, and I just happened to be the one to help put him away. Slumbering Horror by Mark Shue. Everything was ready for the ritual of slumber. A stone pillar sprouted from the center of a domed circle of a room. Flickering candlelight hummed a warm glow of light, but warmth was scarce. On the pillar, canal grooves spiraled into a single path which fed into a black hole. Stood around this singular feature were a dozen human silhouettes with silver masks and white robes. One man, wearing a golden mask, stepped into the crowd. "Come, Lily," his bellowing voice echoed. Barefoot, she stepped forward and removed her mask. Light flickered in her blue, youthful eyes before she laid herself on the stone pillar, her arms at her side. The man approached and ran his hand over her brown hair. "Thank you," he whispered into her ear. Another cultist brought him a black case. On red felt laid a gnarled, twisted dagger with an ivory hilt. He took it and held it over his face. His mumbling brushed across her face as echoes of chanting drifted in the air. She closed her eyes. Chanting became moaning as the dagger reached its zenith, ready to plunge into eager, soft flesh. Silence engulfed the moment before the dagger fell. A small cylinder clanked down a slender stairway at the chambers of the north end. Executioner and audience were distracted for a brief moment before it exploded. Lily's eyes seared with pain from the flash. It flooded the dim chamber with bright white light, drowning out any shadow for an instant. It followed a bang which left her deaf, save for a high-pitched ringing. Unsure, she rolled off the pillar and crashed into the stone beneath. Dust clung to tears on her face. When she forced an eyelid apart, it stung unbearably. Shouting voices echoed all around her, and with each passing second, they became clearer. Ow! Down! Reese! Hands up! Once her senses were back to her well enough, she understood. They had been betrayed to the regulars. Officers in riot gear swarmed inside, pinning each cultist to the floor or wall. In a matter of minutes, the room became a solemn line of handcuffed men and women being escorted up a stairwell and out of sight. Lily's head pressed against her palms. She sat with her back to a wall, watching their ritual fall apart. A large hand fell on her right shoulder, and a man knelt beside her. "You're safe now, kid," a calm, deep voice said. To her dismay, it soothed her. "Officer Cliff!" a young officer called out to him. "What is it?" he said. "Each floor has been swept. No more of these cultists. Evidence teams are going to start collection." "Go ahead, Brandy. Have someone bring me a pair of shoes for this poor girl." He then wrapped her up in an itchy blanket. "You people have no idea what you've done," Lily muttered under her breath. "No need to talk, kid. We will do all the talking after you're warm and safe." Laying in the dust to Lily's immediate left, perhaps a step or two away, was the dagger which hung over her face mere moments ago. Her eyes widened and she leapt for it. Cliff reacted to her sudden movement, watching her grab the dagger. She plunged it towards her inner arm, but froze just before she could slice her flesh open. Despite her effort, Cliff's grip on her was far too strong for her to struggle against. Her voice cracked as she shrieked. "You don't know what you're doing!" she screamed, kicking her legs. Cliff twisted her wrist, and the dagger plummeted, bouncing on the cold, dusty floor. He held her tight as her legs sliced through air, screaming until her voice went coarse and rough. Before she could regain her composure, Lily was laid in the back of a police cruiser. Raindrops plopped against the rear windows, and she wept. "Jesus, that colt really did a number on her," Brandy said. Thick raindrops collided with her waterproof police vest. "I suppose. I want these evil people to fry. Also, there's a dagger in the cellar. Make sure evidence teams grab it. She tried to slash herself with it." "Is that why she was screaming?" "She kept saying we don't understand. Poor girl." Cliff looked at his cruiser and could see Lily crying solemnly. Can you come back to the station with her and I? It might be better if you talk to her. It might be more comfortable talking to a woman. Brandy nodded. A caravan of cruisers and prisoner transports lit the rainy sky with blue and red sirens. Cliff looked over his shoulder frequently to check on the girl. She laid across the hard bench seat, shivering. You need to sit up, kid. She ignored him. I have the heat on full blast. It should be warming up. Again, silence. Hood River's police station had never been this crowded before. The horrors of cults and organized crime had typically been reserved for big cities. Cliff stepped out of his cruiser and opened an umbrella. He opened the back door, but Lily made no signs of life. He knelt. Drops of rain found their way onto his neck and slithered down his back. Let's go inside, kid. She glared at him and laid limp. Forcing his hand, he reached inside and grabbed her. Carrying her into the station, he found a comfortable seat for her in a questioning room. He turned to a coffee maker and proceeded to boil water for a packet of hot chocolate. Brandy entered the room with a pair of slip-on shoes. Hey there, Brandy whispered in her best comfort tone, kneeling to put the shoes on Lily's feet. Could you tell us your name? Lily. Oh, what a very pretty name. I'm very jealous. My parents named me after their favorite drink. What grade are you in? Lily did not respond. She watched the officer dry her cold, wet feet and slide ill-fitting slippers on her feet. Her long hair stuck to her shoulders from rain. It made her shiver, but she did her best to ignore it. It did not matter anymore. Cliff returned to them with a steaming Hood River Police Department mug. He pulled a chair out from a table and sat across from her. It's hot, so blow on it. I have some marshmallows here too, if you want them, he said, setting it in a chair beside her. It doesn't matter, Lily said, loud enough for them to hear. Her voice fought back tears. What do you mean? Brandy held Lily's hand. You can tell us. You wouldn't understand or want to. It's always the same with regulars. Lily sniffed. The two officers exchanged worried glances. Cliff leaned in. Try us. Explain what you mean. His elbows were on his knees. Fine. She took a sip of cocoa and cleared her throat as best she could. Underneath the Earth's crust is a supermassive organism. It mostly feeds off of the extreme heat from the Earth's core. However, it also craves blood. Small amounts are enough to satisfy it for a decade. My blood was next. Brandy's eyebrow was so high on her face, it was attempting to invade her hairline. Cliff rubbed his eyes and took in what the stone-faced young girl had told him. Because you regulars stopped the ritual, it will probably awaken. It has been shifting more and more in recent years. Maybe this was inevitable. Lily played with Brandy's wedding ring, spinning it around her finger. I'm sure the cult told you all of this. I'm not sure how to break this to you, but none of it's true, Brandy said. Lily stayed quiet. People are conned or forced into believing things all the time. I'm sorry, but those people were simply trying to kill you to satisfy their own perverted desire. Brandy ran her fingers over Lily's wet hair. I'm grabbing her a towel. Brandy hopped to her feet. Why not use animals' blood? Or if it has to be human blood, use blood donations. Why did they have to kill you? Cliff said. Because it picks, and it picked me. Lily squeezed her hands together. It. Does it have a name? I don't know, she said. Well, have you seen it? No. If you've never seen it, how do you know that it's really real? Cliff revealed another steaming mug sat on a table behind him. It doesn't matter. You will know how real it is soon. Lily sipped her cocoa. Well, I'm sure I will. But you're safe now, and that matters. Cliff took a slug of coffee and held the warm mug in his gloved hands. Brandy returned with a bath towel and wrapped it around Lily's head. Cliff took the opportunity to escape. Unsurprisingly, his desk remained as messy as it had been that morning. He pushed stacks of paper to one side, making room for his mug. He removed his gloves and sat. Requests, testimonies, witness reports, and evidence reports were a small sample of his work. When a document was complete, he moved it to the drawer for filing. After some time, his usual file drawer had become overpopulated, forcing him to the other side of his desk. Inside the bottommost drawer, he noticed a familiar face-down picture frame. Shit, he said under his breath. There was a reason he had not used this drawer, and it had just come back to him. He held the picture, a photo of a smiling woman and girl, the former holding the latter. A door opened, and his attention was stolen. Brandy had her arm full of folders. Some of the suspect interview transcripts, she said with a smile. You should read some of these. She plopped the documents on his recently cleared desk. Cliff took one and began to flick through it at a speed which suggested skimming. These lunatics really believe in this giant monster at the center of the earth crap, Cliff said, continuing to the next folder. You don't have to skim too much. They all say the same thing. You don't understand. It doesn't matter anymore. I say we let the feds take over. Brandy sat down in a chair beside his desk. Wait, which one of these is Lily's? Cliff said. Bottom of the stack, Brandy said. Cliff dug to the bottom and began to read. Poor girl, 14 years old, and trafficked up to Oregon from Texas. She didn't say anything about her care, but she told me about her dreams. Did she? Cliff looked around the half-populated police office and back to Brandy. What did she say? Every night a deep voice talks at her. Brandy rubbed her eyes. What does it say? Cliff inquired. Brandy stretched and put her hands to her chin. It told her to do what the cultists say, and it really wanted her. She told me its tone was the same way people talk to farm animals. Cliff took a deep breath and skimmed through more unsettling transcripts, each one identical to the last, save for some turn of phrase or peculiar reference. The operation is over, and I want to go home. Brandy stood, her eyes traced over the picture frame. She leaned in to grab it and spoke. What's this picture of? My dead wife and daughter. Brandy's fingers cringed. Sorry, no one ever told me. It's all right. No need for you to be sorry. Cliff looked at her. Car accident 3 years ago. Drunk drivers. You never think it would happen to you, till it does. I'll treat you to some pancakes in the morning, she said. Well, I thought you were heading home. Well, I feel bad now, like I stepped on your foot. If you really want to make yourself feel better, then I suggest you stay and finish your paperwork. He made a finger gun, pointing to her desk, which sat in a similar condition to his. Her desk began to shake, papers falling from its sides. Cliff suddenly realized his desk also shook, until the entire office tossed back and forth like a ship on turbulent seas. Pictures and clocks fell from walls, and glass windows cracked. Both officers went to their knees and covered their heads. The earthquake shook their senses. The suspended lights in the ceiling swung violently, cracking white ceiling tiles and letting gravity drag them down. After a few moments, the tremors passed, leaving the officers in a silent room with a thin cloud of unsettled dust. Earthquake? Brandy smirked. Maybe those cultists were right. Cliff grimaced. I just cleaned this desk, he said, grabbing broken ceiling tiles. Loud footsteps clambered down the hall toward them. A uniformed officer swung into the room, desperately searching over the half-occupied room. Thank you for your concern, but we're all right. Cliff waved to him. Sir, no, it's the girl, he shouted. Inside her questioning cell, Lily had shattered her mug and held the sharpest piece to her arm. Let me go now, she demanded. Lily, please relax. Brandy spoke to her on the other side of the door, their voices muffled through wood and glass. You felt it, didn't you? Lily had lost what composure she had, desperate to flee. Please, let me leave. You need to listen to us. We will not hurt you. Put the broken mug down and talk to us. Cliff attempted negotiation. No, you need to listen to me. It's awakening. If it does, then human civilization will be set back thousands of years, if not wiped out entirely. Her eyes welled with tears. Release me! Cliff entered the room and slowly stepped closer. She dug the sharp end into her arm, but not far. He came within arm's reach, then lunged and flung her into the air by her arm. She shrieked in pain, her arm almost being yanked from its socket, but it was for her own good. For the second time tonight, Cliff had to stop a young girl from bleeding herself out. Somehow he felt very uneasy about it. She thrashed for a few moments. Her kicks aimed for his groin, knees, and stomach, every weak spot on a man she could think of. As if out of battery life, she went limp. 4 officers rushed in and pinned her arms behind her back. Put her in a proper cell and get a suicide watch. In the morning, we will need to have a child psychiatrist speak with her. This is beyond us, Cliff said. This time, Cliff felt it in his feet first. For a split second, it felt as if the concrete beneath his feet heaved down. Then the rumbling came. His feet lost contact with the ground for a moment, and he felt gravity pull him to unprepared knees. Other officers tumbled into him as the station heaved and cracked. It had been the first time he heard concrete snap. It snapped under tremendous force and crumbled in on itself, crushing 2 officers. Cliff shuffled his way towards an exit, Brandy in tow. A brief moment of peace gave them the opportunity to shove themselves out of the collapsing police station. The 2 were greeted by a sheer cliff. It rose out of the ground like dough rises in an oven. It grew to twice the height of the police station before losing momentum. As it did, so did the violent earthquake. Behind them, the station collapsed in on itself as if it were made of twig and duct tape. Asphalt dripped from the newly grown cliff. Brandy was on her knees in the mud, raindrops wriggling down her cheeks. The road they drove in on had been split in two. "What the hell?" she said, putting her weight on her knees and forcing herself up. "We need to go look for survivors. Put out a general alert for EMS." Cliff then groped at the rubble. "Be careful! You could cause a cave-in!" Brandy grabbed his arm, yanking him back. Her smartphone chirped to life, delivering emergency alert after alert. LED light reflected off of the rain on her face as she read. "I don't think this was isolated." "Well, I wouldn't guess so. That was the worst earthquake I've ever felt." "No," she said, showing him her phone. A green map of the United States flashed red along the entire west coast and western half of the country, ranging past the Rocky Mountains, past the Great Plains, as far east as Michigan. He looked at her confused before a sudden rumble stole his attention. He lurched his head around and caught a glimpse of a white dress. Desperately, he set off after them. "Where are you going?" shouted Brandy. "It's Lily. I can't let those bastards hurt her." He scrambled through a cracked and broken parking lot. He closed the gap quickly and tackled Lily. "Let me go!" Lily shouted. "No, this is over. You are safe." He lifted her off the ground. A few strides further, he noticed his cruiser. Beside it, a yawning black pit. "You think jumping in that pit is going to stop these earthquakes?" he shouted at her. "Yes, yes," she retorted. "It is awakening, and this is the only way to stop it." Cliff felt a sudden strike against the back of his head. In a heartbeat, he tasted mud and grit and blood. His eyes rolled in their sockets, and his vision was split in two. Brandy stepped into view. She pointed to the pit and yelled at Lily, who took her moment and jumped. He felt himself being dragged, his hands lazily but desperately reaching for anything. Brandy hoisted him forward and leaned him against his cruiser. "But why?" Cliff mumbled. "Not all of us have dead daughters. Some of us have living ones," Brandy said, sitting next to him as the rain finally died. All right, there we have it. Bloody Bits Volume 6. Can we get a huge round of applause for all of the authors featured in this installment? Please check them out and seek out some of their other work. You can find links to their work in the description of this video. Great job, everyone. These stories were fantastic. All right. Well, take care of yourselves and try as best as you can to have sweet dreams.